This conference will now be recorded.
Rajesh, if you're speaking, you're speaking on mute.
Right. Okay. So good morning. So I hope so everybody has attended that demo, right? Previous demo. So I think there is no new persons. Right. Okay. So in order to like develop that Mule flows, so we required MuleSoft Studio. So yesterday, what we have seen in that, okay, we have downloaded and also we configured. Right. So I'll just revise that. Okay, like we could go for that download MuleSoft ID. Okay. So I'm quickly actually recap the studio, downloading studio. You can download the studio, and before that, you need to install Oracle, Oracle Java, or anything OpenJDK. Oracle, download it from the site. And also, once you done installation, you can see that your program files, C program files, Java and JDK 15 or JDK 16, whatever the version is there. You mainly this is the important. Okay, yeah. And we have configured once you extraction, you can see the folder. For my case, you can see that I extracted in the C directory, and you can see that this is the folder structure. And you can go for the configuration settings and modify it, modify it, and you can see the line number 6th and 7th you need to change in that. Okay, the main thing you need to remove this here in the comment hash. And also you can see that you the path which we already installed in that. uh yeah, this one install, and you can copy into here in that. Okay, that's all. Once you're done, then we can able to start that. Okay, studio. Okay, so this is already I covered yesterday, so it is, I think everybody knows. You have any problem in that? Okay, installation ID, let me know in that. Right, so this is the studio. So the first one, so what exactly the components are there, and what is the palette, what is the folder structure of the project? Okay, how it looks like, what things are covering in that? Okay, in the components, we'll see in that. So I'm opening that. Okay, the first project. Okay. First interface or first project. I'm just giving in that. Okay, introduction about this. See this, when you given that. Okay, project name, and you can see that. Okay, runtime server. So this is by default, you can get it in that. So if you want actually different servers also, we can install in that. Okay, runtime installation here. Okay, what type of installation, what type of plugins you require, you can install it. Right, for now the current version is 4.3.0, so we are continuing that same version. And you can see that. Okay, 3 tabs are there here. So we will not use or touch into now. Generally what happened, we will use in that. Okay, when we actually that you have written that raml and you need to export from raml, that situation you can create a project through raml in that. So raml purpose we will use in the. Okay, 3 tabs in that. That's what we are not doing anything. And the next one is that. Okay, you can see the default location and also whatever the location. If you want to go for the specific location, fine, you can go in. Right, so I'm just finishing. Right, so you can see that the left side, the folder structure, the left side folder structure. So you can see that. Okay, a .xml file that will call it that. Okay, it contains mule flow, message flow, global elements, and configuration XML. If you go in the configuration XML, so you can see that. Okay, XML type of script in that. So normally what happened, even though if you don't want to wish drag and drop these components, you can also write in the XML. So like that, just you less than, just control space, you can get options in that. Okay, what type of component or what type of message processor you can go in that. Okay, you can write it in that. Okay, otherwise what happened, once you drag and drop, so you can easily can create it in that. Okay, automatically generated that code. Right, and you can see that. Okay, .xml file, these files are multiple files. You can say that. Okay, now it is one, but when we actually requirement is there in that. Okay, we can design multiple XML files, it is converted into flows. Right, so that is the way we can do that. Okay, multiple flows also. And also rest of the things, the important is that. Okay, you can go for that unit test, unit test. So once you're done in that. Okay, design the flows, so you need to do the unit testing. So this is very important. Unit test also important for interview point, very much important. You can get a questions, at least 2 to 3 questions from unit in that minimum, I'm telling you that. Okay, so how you write a unit test, what are actually conditions you written in that. Okay, if I'm giving to this. Okay, so I have a that interface or project is there in that. Okay, how you can go right in that. Okay, unit in that. Right, that type of questions you can see that. So apart from that. Okay, not important in that. And you accept sources, so you can keep the property files and you can keep any assets are there, so you can keep here, and you can reusability purpose in that. Okay, normally what happened, your payload, yes, we can see that. Okay, like metadata is there, so you want, can you mute somebody in that. Okay, uh, yeah, thanks. Right, so you can keep that files like. Okay, so when you imported a raml file, that raml file is coming to that API, and you have metadata, any metadata, JSON or XML data is there in that. Okay, so you can also you keep it in that way, so in the assets in that. Right, so that is the basic structure. Right, So apart from that, pom.xml is not required to do anything. So just like no need to write any script. So when you add palette from automatically the dependency will add it like that. So for example, if you are connector adding for any connector, by default it is there. But if you are SAP or JDBC, MySQL, yesterday we have seen that, okay, database, right? So automatically added in that. You can wish to add through XML also, pom.xml. So this is coming to that, okay, adding your dependency jar file into your project, okay, but not required. Except one thing you can do, when we do that CI/CD, we require a Cloud Hub or any on-prem details. We need to configure here in that. We have some like, okay, you can take a Jenkins files, and through Jenkins file, it will take a build up that, okay, complete that, okay, project in that, okay, up to date. So we can configure it in that configuration. Okay, when we discuss CI/CD, I will cover for that. Right, that is basically that, okay, structure of the project. So okay, you can see that, and you can see this project, you can minimize it, and also when you are there in that, okay, this file, you don't know what project is open, and you can open it here like that. Also you can see that, okay, everybody like, okay, you can see somebody doesn't know anything, then you can find, so you can see that. And there is a global elements, yes, we'll come to that, okay, any connectors are there in that, okay, you can create a one time connector and you can reusable it, so everywhere in that, okay, for this project or for this interface flow, okay. And configuration, which is already covered in that, okay, you can generate that code XML, or else you can write a code also. But when you have access to XML, you cannot see the palette, because when it is coming to message flow, design flow, then you can see the right side of the, and you can see that, okay, these are the components, basic components are there in that, okay, by default. So I told in that, okay, initially I was in the demo in that there is a 300 plus connectors and also a lot of components. No, it is actually by default, it is not available in that, okay, studio. You need to install in that. So whenever you require, you need to install in that. For example, SAP is not available, okay, because you have to require to installation. How installation will cover in that, okay, one of the class in that, okay, come in the class, we can go for the search in Exchange and we can make it to the, so before that, okay, we need to create a Cloud Hub user. All right, so that is there in that, okay, installation of, if we have any modules in that, we can do that module. And you can see that, okay, core, these are all core, so basic things in that, okay, we will use regularly in that, okay. So batch steps, so I'm coming to that alphabetical or maybe in that, okay, starting onwards, the batch steps which will use batch steps like, okay, so yesterday I was told in that, okay, schedule activities, right? So you are doing that, okay, schedule activities, millions of records you need to process, okay, particular time you need to update or anything, not only particular time, anytime you want to update. So you can do the batch process. Not only scheduler we will use in the batch process, we can also use HTTP listener for batch process also. Because what happens, something like, okay, you are receiving request, so you need to start, because you need to give an API in that. That API will sync the data, whatever the response data need to sync to SAP. But that is coming to millions of records in that, okay, lot of records are coming. So you can actually divide the batches in that. Okay, so everything we will coming to the class, we will learn it in that, okay, separate session is there in that, okay, right. So the next important is that, okay, transform message, yesterday we've seen that, right? So transform message one format to other format, okay. And if you are formatting in that, okay, XML to JSON format, and you need to map it to that, so you can do that, okay, using this transform message. Okay, so endpoint, that's what scheduler is, the endpoint. So you can do that, okay, scheduler, the batch process or anything you schedule the activity. Okay, important logger, so you can do logger. Okay, so cache, I'll come to that cache. Generally what happened, cache will use in that, okay, temporarily storing in that, okay, so information, and you can retrieve it instead of directly your original source, always you connecting, okay, instead of that you can connect it. Error handling, so this is very much important, you can receive that, okay, and also the basic things is required. Without error handling you cannot do any project in that. So because what happened, you can see that if you're integrating with an API, definitely you receive some error configurations in that, okay, error types in that, okay, by default error types. Okay, so we will see that, okay, in the class. So why it is coming the default error cards, how we will handle it using these components in that. Okay, we need to handling that, okay, because if you are giving API to consumers or API consumers or third party vendors or third party anything in that, okay, you require that APIs, right? So anybody require that API, you are giving this your API. The thing what happened when you see that APIs, so we have to tell that, okay, hey, this is a URL and this is a request and also response. Responses are multiple responses are there. So one is successful response, that is 200 okay, that is 200 okay is a successful response, and other one 404 is there, 500 is there, 501 is there, 505 is there. What does mean if I'm receiving that, okay, that error codes, that we need to tell. So not only you, whenever you receive that, okay, any API, so they will provide minimum things in that. Okay, API, generally what happened, if you're making API, yesterday I told in that, okay, you are making that API, you need to give a URL, request, responses, okay, or else you are consuming that API, they will give a request, a response, and also URL, like, okay. Here two things are there, if you consume that API and you can also make a API in that. Sometimes what happen, yes, not only sometimes, it's actually the requirement is, it's a very common in that. So you are there in that, okay, you need to call in that, okay. Generally what happened, so you want to make an API, but in that API you require information in that, okay, some of the APIs in that. So you can consume that API, okay, you can consume the API, you can make a API in that. So that also possible in that. Right. So this is called error handler, error continue, propagate, raise error. Okay, these are all error components. And flow control, yes, we are controlling the flow. That means using that, okay, choice. Yes, choice. Generally what happened, if you are like one case two, you see that, okay, programming language or any other thing, first case the condition will check it, second case condition will check, like that will continue the cases in that. Okay, at last what happened, we have a default case. If it is not matching any above cases, then the default case execute, like that the choice is there. Like for successful round robin scatter gather, so we will learn in that, okay, coming the classes in that. Okay, and also scope, like async, cache, I told cache scope in that, okay, flow for each, generally what you want to loop it in that, okay, you have millions of records are there, or multiple list is there, you want to loop it, this is also component for each component. Okay, you can just drag and drop the for each component, in the component you can write it in. Right, try block also related to exception handling, subflow, parallel for each. So subflow is also what happens, generally you subflow is completely in that, okay. You have a parent flow, you have a child flows, like, okay, you can create a subflow, because you cannot start from here to, like, you're designing, because not like that, okay, because modularization is very important in that. Like any language in that, okay, you can go for any tool or language in that. So definitely we will follow that, because what happened, we need to understand once you design it. So so this function, like, right, so functions are there, modules are there, our methods are there, we'll call any name in that. The same thing we will also use in the flows, that's called subflows in that. Subflow is like a method or function in that. Okay, small part of that, okay, will execute with the result, will give us some result in that. So whenever you want, you can reusable for that. Okay, reusable purpose also we can use. Right, until successful also is the component scope, and yes, these are all our set variable in that. Okay, these are all our basic components. So routinely we will use in that. Okay, these are all not a component. These not connectors. Like you are a components in that message processor. Okay, you can use it. Yeah, coming to that. Okay, modules, add modules. So you can see that these many modules are by default available in that. Okay, so I told in that, okay, SAP is not available. Yes, you can install it, but by default available, database available, email, FTP, JMS, okay, NetSuite, Java, And also you can see SFTP, you can connect SFTP or FTP also available in that. Okay, Salesforce, ServiceNow. Okay, Spring, then is a Spring framework is there in Java, you can connect it. Web service consumer, Workday, like that. Okay, so if you want, if you can use it in that, okay, search in Exchange, you need to configure the account and you can search it here, any connector, so you can install it. Okay, we will come into the classes, we will install. Now, okay, we'll start in that. Okay, some simple flow in that. Okay, what we can do that again. So we will make a API, but we need to consume that. Okay, third party APIs. Like how we will do that. Okay, we can see that now. In order to start anything, okay, in the Mule, you require endpoint. We'll call endpoint when we're making APIs. Okay, so most of the things we will make APIs are batch process. I told. Okay, so APIs you required HTTP listener. So this is very commonly we'll use and also multiple times we will use it. Okay. So listener, HTTP listener. You can just drag and drop. Right. So when we do that, okay, listener. So I told yesterday. So what we have to do? So in order to do that, okay, test our flows or APIs, we require Postman, right? So let me go for that, okay? So I'm just using the same endpoint, localhost 8081 and test, okay? So if I'm sending, so this time, yesterday we were see that, okay, database demo. That was the demo because directly went in that. So what we will do that today, very simple in that, okay? We will print the result, but how it is coming, okay? We will debug also, we'll do that, okay? How, what response will come to here in that, okay? What exactly will do that, okay, what exactly the flow will going to fly in that. So now we can see that, okay, configure, opening that, okay, HTTP listener, just waiting. Okay, so I'm just using same thing, HTTP localhost 8081, right? Test. Okay, so I'll just wanted to use logger. So anything. So we, whenever you want, wherever you feel that, okay, I require this logger component, you can add the component in that, right? So this is called FX. Okay, when you click that, okay, FX, so you can multiple values. I told header parameters required. For example, you required the post method or get method. So we are accessing get method, but fine. But what is this? Okay, for example, if you're supplying this like question ID, like this called query parameters. So you need to, what parameters like that you can see ID is equal to 33, for example. So your 33 is, you need to access input value. Okay. So then what you can do that, okay, you can add the value. Okay. You can retrieve the value. Okay. How you retrieve the value? Through headers in that. All right. So what we can do that, okay, through attributes we can do that. Okay, we'll see that. Okay, next class, attributes and what is that. Okay, attributes, what is the payload content in that, we'll see that. Now flow started, just I'm giving, just wanted to string message in that. Okay, you can, or else you can also give plus add it concatenation. So you are doing that. Okay, any attributes, add something like the payload dot, you can see the dot. Okay, when it is start it will come. Okay, it won't work. So what you can do that, what you can do that, still also loading in the data. Still loading data, no issues. Okay. Anyway, we will start it. Okay. Flow started. We can give it in that okay logger. So what we can do that, I will take some transform message. So transform messages multiple times we will use. So it is not only transformations we can use it. So we can also modify the payload. We can also add the payload. We can use it. Okay. So I just wanted to make it in that. Okay. So this is like, okay, when we learn data view language, we can see that. But now time being, you can understand in the okay, this is like, okay, header, and this is also body part. So 3 dots before data. So some data sends out, that's what is giving, but that's fine. Okay, so it is you need to restart that ID. Sometimes like your metadata is not updating, you can do that. So what I will do that here. Okay, so more than one line you are writing, you can use the brackets. So what I will do, okay, message mule 4. Okay, so what I will do that. So this message, how I will transforming it to that, okay, as JSON. I want actually JSON, right? So you can close the logger, right? So logger. So what happened when you send, okay? So whatever the final payload is there, that is coming to a response here, right? I'm not connecting any source connectors. I'm not connecting any doing that. Simply I want to display the message for that. Okay, whatever I written here, that message will come in the JSON format in that, right? Okay, so simple flow. So logger, I can close it with string format, flow ended, right? So now I'm doing that, okay? I'm not running in that, okay? I'm debug mode. Step by step, what exactly the flow will happen, we'll see in that. Right? So yesterday we have seen in the run mode. So debug mode we'll see. So when it is debug mode, so you can add breakpoint here. So that means the flow, if you not add the breakpoint like run mode only, so it will take a by default run mode only. So if it is a breakpoint, it will stop here and will slowly control, we can control it. So step by step what happened. That's the same thing. So we can deployment, we are waiting the deployed message. Right, so you can some pop-up, you can yes or no, anything fine. So waiting for this deployed message. Deployed. right? I clear that console. Now we can see that, okay, send request now. So what happened now? See this, when it is sending the request, it is stopping here in that. So now slowly we'll debug. So what happened here, that here, so this output is going to input of this component, right? Go to Mule debugger, right? In the debugger, so you can see that what I told in that, okay, each message processor contains payload, message, and also variables. See, this is logger component, payload, okay, variables, and also attributes. What are the attributes? I told attributes dot, I not use it, right? So what is the attributes here? See these header parameters. I want any query parameters, query string, or something like a path, which path I need to access in. I require anything, I can access in that. What is your address or domain name? So when we require in that, okay, we can go for that. Header parameters. Also, we can see that in the header parameters, what happened? Something like, okay, sometimes what happened in header parameters, you can get a token also. So token, so attribute chart, header chart, token, you can access the data. See this token. This is the by default Postman token. So like that, sometimes you can authentication token we required, say, so sometimes we will add it to headers. So we can also retrieve the token for that, right? And also you can see that, okay, payload, I have not sent any payload in that because payload is a body data. Okay, here the body is nothing but payload. So body I'm not send anything, just a get method, right? Post method generally we can send it. Variables, I'm not defined any variables in that. Now go for next. What happened now? You can console, you see empty. And now next, see that one process to other process went in that, and the console. Now what executed? Logger have executed in that way. Logger has flow started, so it was executed in that. Next, what you are doing here, transform message and just displaying the message in that, right? So what I will do that here, go to Mule debugger, and you can see that, okay, same attributes now, same attributes still, and payload is nothing else is there. Now you added in the three dots after, that means payload. Okay, what I told in that, okay, this is called payload. Three dots before header parameters, that is called attributes. This is after three dots payload, anything if you are assigning it to that. Now it is coming to that, okay, you can see that payload is empty now. If I'm going to next, now you got a payload, see this. Anything is payload, right? Message contain payload. Now you got a payload and same thing attributes, still you are accessible. Okay, now you got extra payload in that. So now next, your flow has finished. Now you can see that in the logger flow started and flow ended. And you can see that, okay, some message in that. So this is called 200. Okay, this is successful scenario. Okay, this is reason pairs and also this is status code. Okay, this is a payload in that. So basically you need to debug in that. Okay, so whenever you want, you can see that. Right, so this is like, okay, so when you write in that flow or when you give it into that, okay, when you are defining that flow and you can create in the flow, so when you are on to responses, you not create responses in that, okay, so you can create this type of message in the transform message in that, right? So any doubts? Any doubts? Okay, right, so right, so Monday onwards what we can do that, okay, we will start in that, okay, classes in that actual classes, right? So this is a today you can just comfortable with the components and that also payload, like, so what exactly payload. So next class what we will see in that, okay, we will start in that, okay, so what exactly that, okay, attribute is going to help in that, okay. So today we have seen that, okay, payload, how to create a response in that, okay, successful response. So next we will see that, okay, so we will start in that, okay, actual classes with our components in that, right? So we will start in that, okay, flow control. Okay, you can see in that, okay, we will start with any of the component, either maybe you can take a choice or first successful or scatter gather, like that. And with our next class, what we are doing, we are going to see a request component. What is the purpose of request component we will use? And in addition, so where we will actually that mix up with our choice flow controls, like you can say that scatter gather. Right, next class we can see that these components in that. So Monday onwards we can go for the regular classes, and the same time or anything is there in the update, so you can get update from the coordinator. So thanks very much. Any doubts regarding today or yesterday previous or anything in that regarding Mule? Nobody speaking? Are you listening?
Yeah. Rajesh, we are hearing.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Narendra. So yes, any doubts?
No doubts, Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so because today most of the students not attended because today Saturday, right? I think generally what happened, sorry, Friday, maybe that yesterday they have attended some given message. We'll communicate in that. If any time change in that, mostly we are 7 or 7:30 will start in that. Right, so thank you very much. Bye bye, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.